Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our flight in exploring one new Chinese expression a day. Yesterday, we talked about the translation of real estate in Chinese. We translate as not movable property. So in a way, it's appropriate, right? So today we have move, not move. 动不动. This is not a classical Chinese. As you can see, it's a 3 characters, and also it's highly repetitive, right? We have this 2 times of move, 动, and then in the middle we have a negation, 动不动. And actually, that's contemporary Chinese, very commonly used structure of language. We have you can combine this structure with this negation in the middle with many different kinds of verbs. You can say 买不买? Do you want to buy it or not? 走不走? Do you want to go or not? 看不看? Do you want to see it or not? So it's kind of do something or not structure in English. So in Chinese, we have 动不动,动不动. It's a little bit different from the rest of do you want to do something or not. 动不动 actually is about as the observer or the language user, when you say 动不动, you're saying something is unpredictable. You don't know. You cannot tell. You cannot forecast if something going to move or not going to move, or something going to happen or not going to happen. You cannot tell which is the way. So that's 动不动. Okay, again, this 动 come from the heavy symbol on the left side, which is composite of 4 different icons together. And then the right side is power symbol. So heavy power. Heavy power. Okay, that is 动. That's move concept. So this power is easier to explain. So 3 edges. It's almost like a physical representation of the raking, which got a lot of sharp edges to loosen the surface of the soil. And we can interpret it as plow as well. So that function as the soil surface loosening tool. And to make that happen, you have to use muscle power. And because it's commonly used a farming tool, therefore it's commonly used as a representation of muscle power. So that becomes power. Just use this tool that connected with power to symbolize power itself, muscle power. And the left side is 4 different symbols together. Let's unpack. Okay, please bear with me. It's going to take a while. So we have the tree symbol here that comes with this convex shape connected with vertical line to this concave shape. In a simplified version, just by the tree symbol itself, without the other elements in the foreground or background or underground of the tree, just convex, concave with vertical line. It symbolizes a tree because the top, the convex, almost with the vertical line, it looks like the canopy of the tree. And then the high trunk with this concave shape, that's an arch, kind of a spacer, to give you a sense of from the canopy of the tree to the ground, there is a distance. And because of that, it's what visually define a tree is a tree. It's not a bush, because of this distance in there. So that's a tree symbol. And then we have this oval shape with 1 horizontal line. The oval shape, it should come as a sphere, like a circle. Then the horizontal line is a symbol or indicator to mean there are energy emitting or light emitting from that sphere or that circle in a 2D form. But because this is so many elements stacked together, it's kind of squished into an oval shape. But that's our sun symbol. sphere with energy. Most simplified definition of a sun, both the shape and its essence, that it got energy in it. So that's the sun symbol. The sun behind a tree. I mean, it gotta be behind the tree, right? It cannot be in front of the tree. Because the tree is something on the planet. The sun is far away from our Earth. But the ancient people probably don't conceptualize that far. But observable to the language creator was whenever the sun just rises up from the horizon at the dawn, that's when the sun didn't go far above across the sky yet. That's when the sun is going to visually look like as if it's behind the tree. It's actually embedded on that trunk. So that's visual representation of the sunrise. And that means the moment when the sun rises. That means the east, the direction of the east, because sun always rises from the east, right? Okay, there we go, two symbols. The third symbol is that this sideways facing human figure. So it's kind of like looking like this, hunching over, kind of looking like this. Human figure standing on top of the tree canopy. You may wonder what it's doing standing on top of a tree, but language not always represent the world as if it's happen in a static, like vertically, like that. It may or may not. We cannot tell as a later language user unless I have more evidence to have a similar structure but in a different character, and then I can tell better. But as far as I know now, this human figure standing on top of the tree doesn't necessarily mean it's actually standing on top of the tree, or the proportion is not right either, right? It's just stacking up of all these symbols bundled together in a vertical way, string them together almost. So we have a human figure on top of the tree that looks, and the sun behind the tree, and then the soil below the tree. So the soil come from, the first horizontal line is the surface of the ground. So it's the border between under the ground and above the ground. So that's the ground level. And then the second horizontal line apparently is below the ground level. And what is below the ground level? The soil. Okay, so there we go. We have the soil and the human figure, and in the early morning when the sun just rises up. My interpretation is this is a farming scene of farmers started working in the field when the sun just rises. They are already there, start working. Because I guess my observation is for people who work outdoors, who have to do a lot of field work, who faces sun exposure, right? The weathers, the elements of the weathers, they better, if it's a sunny day, they better start out their day's work earlier so that they don't get sunburned, so they don't get tired out. So it's a kind of a temperature moderation by changing our own working schedule. So early in the morning, that farmer already start working in the field to take advantage of the cooling temperature in the early morning, even if it's probably for the comfort of humans, not the most comfortable way, right? Because who want to get up that early, right? But this thing together, we have these four symbols stacking up visually. It creates a visual heavy sense, right? Everything stacked up, but also like I'm thinking of this person from the farmer's perspective, which probably is language user capture in this, thinking from the perspective of humans, that human toiling on the field, start farming that early in the morning. That is heavy labor. That's heavy work. So that itself, the type of work itself, added to this heaviness, this already visually heavy formation, and that meaning behind it is people have to sacrifice that much by working that early in the morning. Probably even today, like agriculture workers, they have to start their day early so that they don't get sunburned in the later afternoon, right? So things shifted earlier. So by by the sunrise, they already work X number of hours in the field. So that's what it's depicting. So heavy plus power, it's moving. Does that make sense? Because when things move, that means things from static state of being start to change, shift into moving, into motion. So this heaviness gives the momentum of the one that already have muscle power to be able to move, but it needs the energy, need the push, the nudge to move. So the heavy concept gives this push, this momentum to cause motion. And also a farming symbol or the picture depicted here also gives the purpose of moving, like how you use that raking tool. Probably that's what they're using in the field. That's what your emotion, like working through the field from edge to edge. That's your whole day's work with this farming tool. That's when your emotion forever moving forward to the next piece of land. So that's move. And move, not move, not simply as a bird flying toward the sky. There's a skyline and then not going down. The legend has it. We don't exactly know the truth. And that somehow turned into a no, negation. So I guess it's a bird saying no to the earth. That's the only way I can explain it. So 动不动 actually means capricious, means it's hard to tell. It's really a volatile situation, or it's a lot of uncertainty. It's someone's behavior is like 50-50. You cannot tell what's the next move. It's unpredictable. So to capture this concept of capricious, I picked this series of artwork made almost 200 years ago by famous Japanese artist Hokusai. It's in Art History 101, okay? Hokusai made 36 such paintings depicting Mountain Fuji, the most famous mountain, probably the tallest mountain in Japan, which is a volcano. And you can see volcano has this temper moment as if it's going to erupt. And a volcano has this beautiful, peaceful moment with greeneries, clouds, and cranes. Cranes signify longevity, right? So it's super peaceful, almost paradise-looking volcano. And it has this moment of, if you view it from the ocean side, when it's windy, choppy weather day, the boats are going to be overthrown at any moment. And you see in the distance, the mountain Fuji. It's still there, stable, not changing, not moved by the scene, because Mountain Fuji has been there forever. But the people come and go, and this is human struggle against the natural element, the waves, the wind, right? All that struggle, and Mountain Fuji as a backdrop in there. So it's the same character, Mountain Fuji, but it's in different climate, not climate, different weather, different conditions. It was viewed from different angles, as if Mountain Fuji is capricious. It's hard to tell. And I guess in a way it's true, right? Because we're really looking at Mountain Fuji in different weather conditions, in different seasons probably, from different angles definitely. But weather, like Mountain Fuji is relatively stable unless it erupts. That's something is unpredictable as well. But relatively stable, it's a landscape. But the weather conditions around it, like a day to day, it's really hard to tell. Just like the weather anywhere on the planet, it's hard to tell. Like this year, California got a lot of rain. Like who can tell that, right? So that hard to tell, unpredictability. Like you cannot really tell it's going to move or not move. I guess here we can also extend it to stock market. Like you cannot tell the next move. Is it going to move this way or that way? It's going to move or stable? Is it going to change? How much it's going to change? So all that captured in these three characters. I mean, technically it's two, but a negation, like, are you moving or not moving? This is something capture the motion, the direction of the motion is we cannot tell. We don't exactly know what's the next step. So that's what Chinese say 动不动. And I would say when it put in a sentence, a lot of times when we say 动不动, actually we mean it's often done something. So I guess it's reasonable to regard, for example, somebody like to cry. It's easy to cry. When we say 动不动就哭, somebody very oftentimes would cry. And that 动不动 then becomes almost like a complaint about this person's tendency, like to cry. And 动不动 means almost like 50% of chances this is going to happen. So that's 动不动. But again, this is hard to tell. You cannot give a 100% certainty over there. Over here is definitely like 50%. Okay, that's what we have for 动不动. Caching the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie Sion.